Today's story unfolds as both shocking and complex, spanning nearly a decade before justice could be served. It centers around the brutal murder of a 21-year-old nun, whose tragic fate in 1992 remained unsolved for 28 years, until a breakthrough in December 2020. This is the haunting tale of Sister Abhaya. The narrative begins in the serene town of Kottayam, Kerala, back in 1992. Like many Christian communities in the region, Kottayam was a tranquil haven. Churches and convents dotted the landscape, forming vital pillars of the local culture and faith. Among these sacred spaces stood the St. Pius X convent, a prominent institution in the area. The convent housed a hostel that welcomed many young women, including aspiring nuns. It was here that Sister Abhaya, a devoted 21-year-old, dedicated her life to serving God and uplifting others. At the time, Sister Abhaya was a diligent student at a pre-degree college, preparing for her upcoming exams. Fueled by determination, she resolved to rise early one morning for extra study time. Setting her alarm, she drifted off to sleep, only to awaken at 4 a.m. After exchanging greetings with a few friends in the convent, she settled down to begin her studies. However, a short break beckoned. Leaving her books behind, she ventured to the kitchen, perhaps to quench her thirst or splash cold water on her face. The refreshing water was meant to keep her alert. Yet when the other nuns arose the next morning, they quickly noted something was amiss. Sister Abhaya had vanished. Her absence raised immediate concerns. Upon investigating the kitchen, they discovered a water bottle with its cap unscrewed, water pooled on the floor, and one of Sister Abhaya's slippers lying there. But the question loomed large. Where could Sister Abhaya be? The urgency of the search intensified, and soon Sister Abhaya's other slipper was located near the convent's well. A nun, peering into the depths of the well, was met with a chilling sight: Sister Abhaya's lifeless body. Emergency responders arrived and the police were summoned. Eventually, Sister Abhaya's body was retrieved from the well, leaving the nuns and hostel residents in a state of profound shock. Just the night before, they had shared laughter, dinner, and future hopes with her. Now, the vibrant young woman they had known was being carried out lifeless from the depths of despair. Local police officer V.V. Augustine arrived to handle the grim scene as protocol dictated. After the body was recovered, Augustine meticulously documented the scene, instructing a photographer to capture the harrowing evidence before sending the body for an autopsy. During this examination, doctors discovered cuts and bruises alongside a severe head injury, ultimately attributing the cause of death to drowning. Despite the head injury, the initial ruling was suicide, with a whisper of murder lingering in the air. This conclusion was met with disbelief by many who knew Sister Abhaya. Why would she set an alarm only to take her own life? The refrigerator door stood ajar. The water bottle was uncapped. Water was scattered across the floor and her slipper lay abandoned. The scene felt rushed, chaotic. The narrative surrounding Sister Abhaya's death began to unravel, with many convinced that this was no suicide but rather a calculated murder. Suspicion grew that someone was desperately trying to conceal the truth, particularly given that the tragedy unfolded within the confines of a convent. The death of Sister Abhaya unfolded within the walls of a convent, a sanctuary where hundreds of girls sought education, spiritual growth, and shelter. Such a tragic event occurring in this sacred space was profoundly unusual. The incident, coupled with allegations of a cover-up, sent shockwaves through the community. In response to the unsettling nature of the case, community activist Joman Puthan Parakal rallied the community to form a committee dedicated to seeking justice for Sister Abhaya. On April 16th, after months of inadequate local investigation, the case was handed over to the crime branch, igniting hopes for a thorough inquiry. The crime branch, after extensive investigation, released its report, concluding that Sister Abhaya's death was a suicide. The case was wrested from local police, who had grappled with it for months, leading to a disheartening resolution. By this time, Sister Abhaya had been laid to rest, her clothes destroyed, leaving behind scant medical evidence. Nonetheless, the case had morphed into a sensational topic across Kerala, dominating media narratives and public discourse. As speculation swirled, residents began crafting their own theories about the events that transpired. The nuns, feeling the weight of scrutiny, expressed their discontent with the investigation's direction, as pressures escalated from media, activists, and society at large. Consequently, the case was escalated to a higher authority. The Central Bureau of Investigation, or CBI, took charge, initiating a fresh investigation. They employed a new strategy, seeking out overlooked clues and revisiting previous witnesses. Though progress seemed promising, an astonishing event shook the investigation. CBI officer Varghese P. Thomas held a press conference in 1994, revealing that he had faced immense pressure to label the case a suicide. This revelation prompted him to resign nearly 9 years before his retirement, igniting a firestorm of chaos in its wake. Once again, the case captured the headlines. People were baffled by the unfolding confusion. Where was the pressure emanating from? Why was the case proving so challenging to unravel? The CBI's investigation continued, delving deeper into the complexities of the case. Despite the lack of concrete medical evidence, the CBI conducted a series of dummy tests. They crafted a doll, replicating Sister Abhaya's size and weight, and meticulously tossed it into the well, analyzing the injury patterns in comparison to those found on her body. Despite these elaborate tests, the results did not yield clear answers. In 1996, 3 years into the investigation, a report was submitted stating a pivotal conclusion. We believe this should be treated as a murder case. We explored every avenue to identify potential suspects in this tragic incident, yet despite our exhaustive efforts, we could not uncover any definitive results. 4 years had passed since that fateful day, and despite the unwavering efforts of local police, the crime branch, and now the CBI, the truth behind Sister Abhaya's death remained elusive. The earlier findings were dismissed, leading to the assignment of a new CBI team. This fresh investigative team embarked on yet another inquiry. By 1999, 3 years later, they arrived at a harrowing conclusion. Sister Abhaya's death bore the hallmarks of murder. The crux of this conclusion lay within newly unearthed medical findings. In a significant turn of events, a new investigative team was assembled to delve deeper into the haunting case of Sister Abhaya's death. By 1999, 3 years after the tragedy, their findings pointed unmistakably toward murder. The pivotal evidence that swayed their conclusion lay within the medical reports, revealing a darker truth. This time, the examination was conducted not by a solitary doctor, but by a trio of medical professionals. They meticulously analyzed Sister Abhaya's body and uncovered a series of injuries that had been overlooked in the initial post-mortem report. These previously unreported wounds painted a grim picture, suggesting foul play. To truly grasp the gravity of these discoveries, it was essential to revisit the day the tragedy unfolded. In the dimly lit halls of the convent, many nuns gathered, their eyes widening in horror as they noticed more injuries on Sister Abhaya's lifeless body. Vivi Augustine, the officer previously mentioned, had taken the initiative to call a photographer to the scene, hoping to capture the truth hidden beneath the surface. The photographer meticulously examined Sister Abhaya's body, documenting additional marks of injury that had been glaringly absent from the initial report and post-mortem examination. As her body was retrieved from the scene, the nuns stood witness, their gasps echoing through the air as they too observed these unexplained injuries. They noted several marks that had not been recorded in the original post-mortem report. After 7 long years of investigation, the evidence painted a clear picture. Sister Abhaya did not take her own life. Rather, it appeared to be a cold-blooded murder. But the haunting question lingered in the air. Who could be responsible for such a heinous act? The answer would reveal layers of complexity that would astonish even the most seasoned investigators. The Central Bureau of Investigation, or CBI, openly admitted, "We know it's a murder, but we still don't know who the killer is." Yet again, the court dismissed this unsettling report. Frustrated by the lack of progress, another investigative team was assembled. In 2005, they conducted a new investigation, only to conclude once more that the identity of the killers remained elusive. This time, the court also rejected their findings, igniting anger among the activists gathered outside the committee. Whispers of conspiracy began to swirl, with media reports suggesting the first investigation had been a poorly executed charade. They claimed Sister Abhaya was buried too swiftly, her clothes incinerated, and even her diary obliterated, fueling suspicions of a deliberate cover-up orchestrated by powerful figures. As various theories rippled across Kerala, the question remained: how could such chaos and suppression of evidence be part of the case? Why did vital clues vanish into thin air? In 2007, a new investigative team took up the case, unveiling shocking revelations after 15 years of relentless inquiry. Witnesses were dwindling. Some had recanted their testimonies, while others had tragically passed away. Countless suspects had been interrogated, but no solid proof emerged against anyone. Then, from the shadows, a witness materialized, ready to provide a crucial clue that could change everything. But who was this unexpected informant? Astonishingly, it was none other than a thief. An unremarkable thief from 1992. Could his testimony truly hold weight? Surprisingly, authorities took his statement with utmost seriousness, leading to a dramatic shift in the investigation's trajectory. If you have followed this complex tale thus far, consider liking this video. And as we strive to reach our goal of 30,000 subscribers, your support means the world to us. This thief was Adhikar, who openly confessed to committing various thefts in 1992. He would pilfer from different locations, selling the stolen goods to feed himself and his family. On the night of March 27th, Adhikar approached St. Pius Convent with theft in mind. His target was the roof, where copper rods and wires lay, materials meant for protection against lightning. Under the cloak of darkness, he prepared to execute his plan, but was met with an unsettling sight that would haunt him for years. He caught sight of a figure stealthily slipping onto the campus. The presence of this individual was peculiar. It was a priest, Father Thomas Couture. This raised a chilling question. What was a priest doing in the girls' hostel at such a late hour? Adhikar further asserted that he also saw Father José Putricayil and Sister Sephi lurking nearby. It was then that the atmosphere grew increasingly sinister. Adhikar, a man accustomed to theft, found himself paralyzed by the strangeness of the situation. As he stood frozen in the shadows, he grappled with the unsettling truth unfolding before his eyes. In the shadows of his own misdeeds, Adhikar found himself grappling with a chilling reality. The very next day after the crime, he stumbled upon news of Sister Abhaya's tragic fate, and the police's comments on the case sent shivers down his spine. It was then that a nagging sense of injustice began to take root within him, compelling him to confront the darkness of that night. He had ventured into the convent with the intent to steal, and to reveal the truth about that night would mean confessing to his own crime. Yet, in an unexpected turn of courage, Adhikar chose to approach the police. With a heavy heart and a burdened conscience, he recounted the events he witnessed, unaware of the storm that would follow. However, the police, instead of offering him solace, turned on him. They listened to his account, yet their conclusion was swift and brutal. Adhikar was arrested and accused of murder. Their theory was painfully simplistic. A thief, startled by a nun, acted out of panic, killing her before disposing of her body in the well. For 58 days, Adhikar languished in custody, enduring various forms of torture. He would later share that he was pressured to accept responsibility for a crime he did not commit. The authorities dangled bribes before him: money, a job, promises of education for his children, even a house, if he would just confess. Meanwhile, his ally, Shamir, the scrap dealer, faced similar torment. They both were coerced into implicating Raju in the crime. Yet, against overwhelming pressure and the lure of financial gain, Adhikar and Shamir held firm. Their resolve was tested further when threats of false charges were leveled against them. What fortified Adhikaraju's spirit in such dire circumstances? It was his unwavering honesty that became his shield. Through the murky waters of deceit, Adhikar emerged as a figure of integrity, the petty thief whose truth resonated even within the walls of the court. With this newfound strength, the case began to shift in an unforeseen direction. The Central Bureau of Investigation, now keenly focused, identified two primary suspects: Father Thomas Couture and Father José Putricayil. A neighbor, who had lived near the convent, came forward, claiming he had seen Father Couture's scooter parked outside on the fateful night of March 26th. This neighbor had gone to a nearby shop for tea, and upon his return near midnight, he noticed the scooter still lingering outside the convent. At first he brushed it off, but later, under mounting pressure, he altered his narrative. He recanted, saying, "I said that under pressure." His wavering testimony became a thread in a web of doubt surrounding the investigation. Adhikar, now aware of the neighbor's claims, wondered why the police hadn't pursued this lead more vigorously. Why hadn't they explored Raju's account with the seriousness it warranted? Was there a hidden agenda at play? Money was being offered to silence Raju's voice. Who was orchestrating this? And perhaps most crucially, what was Father Couture doing at the convent that night? Whispers began to circulate, suggesting that Father Couture had confided in a friend about his relationship with Sister Sephi, insinuating they were akin to a married couple. This revelation echoed through the convent, igniting gossip among the nuns and the wider community alike. By 2008, emboldened by Raju's statements, the CBI formally named Father Couture, Sister Sephi, and Father Jose Puthrakayil as the principal suspects in the murder of Sister Abhaya. This pivotal moment catalyzed the defense lawyer's strategy, aiming to discredit witness Raju by portraying him as a seasoned criminal. Within the cloistered walls of the convent, whispers of speculation circulated among the nuns, while discussions echoed beyond the monastery's confines. The tension mounted until 2008, when a breakthrough emerged. Based on the testimony of Adhika Raju, the Central Bureau of Investigation, or CBI, named Father Thomas Couture as a suspect in the case. Raju's truth remained unshaken. He stood resolutely amidst the swirling accusations, a testament to the complexities of justice and the pursuit of truth in a maze of corruption and deceit. In the courtroom, Father Thomas Couture's defense took an unexpected turn as he introduced a barrage of nearly 10 criminal cases against Adhika Raju, most of which implicated him as the accused. Under the weight of his own admission, Adhika Raju did not shy away from his checkered past, giving the prosecution's arguments a profound edge. Despite his acknowledgement of previous crimes, the courtroom buzzed with the implications of his testimony as the truth of Sister Abhaya's death began to unravel. Raju stood resolute in his testimony, a beacon of hope seeking justice for Sister Abhaya's tragic murder. His courageous statement led to the questioning of Father Thomas Couture, Sister Sephi, and Father Jose Puthrakayil, all of whom were subsequently sent to Bangalore for controversial narco tests. Dr. Malini, the physician overseeing the tests, recorded the results on 3 CDs. These crucial pieces of evidence were dispatched to the Kerala Judiciary Court and the Kerala High Court. However, the integrity of this evidence was soon called into question. Much to the dismay of investigators, it was discovered that the CDs containing the narco test results had been tampered with. Dr. Malini was summoned to explain the discrepancies, but she had already faced suspension, leaving the narco test reports incomplete and shrouded in mystery. In a desperate bid to uncover the truth, investigators questioned everyone present during the narco tests. Each individual steadfastly claimed that no tampering had occurred. To unravel the enigma, the tampered CDs were sent to the Central for Development of Imaging Technology, known as CDIT. CDIT meticulously analyzed the digital evidence and made a shocking discovery. The first CD, belonging to Father Thomas Couture, contained a full recording of 32 minutes and 50 seconds that had been edited over 30 times, raising serious questions about its authenticity. The analysis revealed that Father Jose's test CD lasted 40 minutes and 55 seconds and had been edited 19 times. Sister Sephi's CD, documenting her narco test, recorded 18 minutes and 42 seconds and had been altered 23 times after the incident, suggesting a calculated effort to conceal the truth. In a dramatic turn, the Kerala High Court mandated the Central Bureau of Investigation to produce the original CDs related to the narco tests in court within 10 days. Yet, just days later, the original recordings mysteriously surfaced on a local television station in Kerala. The origins of this broadcast remain an unsolved mystery, but the chilling content of the original narco test recordings revealed the sinister truth. Father Thomas Couture and Father Jose were implicated in Sister Abhaya's murder. According to the damning recordings, on the fateful morning of March 27, 1992, Sister Abhaya awakened at 4:00 a.m. The warmth of the morning beckoned her from her hostel room to the fridge for a drink of water. As she sipped her water, a series of unsettling noises from the kitchen piqued her curiosity. Venturing closer, she stumbled upon Father Couture, Father Jose, and Sister Sephi engaged in a compromising situation. Before she could flee, they turned on her with lethal intent. Sister Sephi, in a horrifying act of violence, seized an axe from the kitchen and struck Sister Abhaya on the head. The post-mortem report would later confirm the grievous head injuries she sustained. In a desperate attempt to obliterate their crime, they dragged her lifeless body to the well and discarded her. Following the broadcast of this shocking evidence, the CBI intensified their interrogation of the 3 suspects in their office. However, in a twist of fate, all three were released on bail in 2009. It was particularly astonishing that Father Jose was cleared of any involvement in the crime. Over the next decade, numerous hearings unfolded, culminating in 2020 when the Kerala High Court sentenced Father Thomas Kotor and Sister Sefi to life in prison. Their convictions were heavily influenced by the narco test results and Raju's unwavering testimony. The court also imposed a hefty fine of 5 lakh rupees on both individuals. Thus, after 28 long years, thanks to the courage of a thief, one of India's most perplexing murder mysteries was finally resolved. What are your thoughts on this harrowing tale? We invite you to share your reflections in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to help us reach 30,000 subscribers. Thank you for joining us in unraveling this dark chapter of history.